The story begins with a married couple, Julie and Daniel, who are moving into a new house. This house isn't in the city, it's in a village. It's old, so they start renovating it before fully settling in. Both are happy, and Daniel has already secured a job as a professor at a local university. One day, while work is still going on, a worker repairing the bathroom floor finds an old bracelet. Thinking it might belong to them, he gives it to Julie. Daniel points out they've just moved in, but Julie still accepts it. The bracelet looks very old. The couple also has a cat named Lou. The bedroom is mostly ready to live in, though other parts of the house are still under construction. We then learn that Julie is pregnant and in her last months. That night, Julie looks at the old bracelet and decides to wear it. She then takes out a box from her belongings. She seems emotional while looking at it, but before she can open it, she hears the sound of a child laughing. Curious, she follows the sound to a room still under maintenance. Their cat is sitting right in front of it. Julie steps forward, listening closely to the noise. But just then, Daniel appears and takes her to the nursery he's been preparing for the baby. He's been working on it for a long time and is very happy with how it's turning out. Daniel shows Julie that he's installed a mic and a baby monitor in the nursery so they can keep an eye on the baby. Life has been going smoothly for them so far. A few days later, the couple attends a party, mostly with people who work at the local university. At the party, an elderly woman congratulates Julie on their new home, and then mentions that she knows about the people who lived there before them. She says the woman in that house had fallen ill. Without going into further detail, she changes the topic and asks Julie if this is her first child. Before Julie can answer, Daniel steps in and says yes. The look on Julie's face makes it clear she doesn't appreciate him speaking for her. When they get back home, the two argue about why Daniel didn't tell the truth, because this isn't their first child. They once had a son named Andrew, but he didn't survive. During the argument, as Julie walks upstairs, she notices a young boy in one of the rooms. Shocked, she loses her footing and falls hard down the stairs, injuring herself. Daniel quickly calls an ambulance. The next scene shows Julie being taken through the hospital on a stretcher. She recalls the time when Andrew was about to be born and then passed away. When she regains consciousness, a doctor is sitting beside her. He tells her the good news. The baby is safe. However, due to the fall, the placenta has detached from the uterus. The doctor warns that even a slight movement could be fatal for the baby, so Julie will need to spend the rest of her pregnancy on strict bed rest to keep her belly stable. There are still about 2 months, 60 days, left until delivery. She's only allowed to get up for the bathroom and nothing more. He also warns both Julie and Daniel that too much stress or overthinking could put the baby at further risk. For the baby's sake, she has no choice but to follow these instructions. Soon after, Julie is discharged from the hospital. Daniel and Julie return home from the hospital, and Daniel has set up the bedroom with everything she might need. He's installed a TV, given her an iPad, a walkie-talkie, and even a grabber stick so she can reach things without getting up. His goal is to make sure Julie doesn't face any difficulty. On the first day, Julie keeps herself busy playing with their cat, Lou, and trying to pass the time. When she gets up to go to the bathroom, she hears a baby crying somewhere in the house. When she returns, she checks the closet, but finds nothing. That evening, when Daniel comes home, he sees that Julie has opened a package, which means she's not following the doctor's advice and is walking around the house. They argue about it, but eventually Daniel apologizes, telling her not to overthink. It's just a matter of a few weeks, and everything will be fine. That night, Julie wakes up after hearing another noise. The closet she had closed earlier is now open again, and she sees someone standing inside. Panicked, she wakes Daniel. He grabs a rod and checks, but there's nothing there. Assuming it's just her imagination, they both try to ignore it. The story then jumps 13 days ahead. Julie is still stuck in bed, feeling more and more bored, almost like she's been imprisoned. With Daniel at work, she watches TV and polishes the old bracelet. Looking out the window, she sees a little boy playing in the snow. Finding him adorable, she opens the window and asks where his mother is. Strangely, the boy points directly at her. Suddenly, the window slams shut on its own, nearly injuring her. When she looks again, the boy has vanished. Suspicious, she checks the baby monitor and sees it detecting movement. Then their cat appears on the screen, but in the nursery's mirror behind it, Julie spots a human face. Terrified, she calls the police, saying there's an intruder in the house. They tell her to lock the bedroom door until they arrive. As she moves, she keeps catching glimpses of someone around the house. She locks the door, but then notices wet footprints on the bedroom ceiling. Moments later, police cars arrive, and when she looks back, the footprints are gone. An officer searches the house, but finds nothing. He takes her statement just as Daniel returns. Concerned, Daniel speaks to the officer privately and explains that Julie has been hallucinating lately. Daniel and Julie have an argument, and he decides to hire a nurse for a few days to look after her. Although Julie isn't happy with the decision, Daniel believes that if things continue this way, she might harm herself or the baby. That night, Julie takes out the same box we saw with her earlier. Inside are Andrew's belongings. She looks at them, remembering her lost son, and begins to cry. Among the items is a small toy car. After letting out her emotions, she puts the box away. Later that night, she wakes to the sound of movement and sees Andrew's toy car rolling across the ceiling. She watches in shock as it falls onto the bed. She quickly opens the box and finds that the car is missing from inside. It's the only item gone. While she's still processing this, she once again sees the same boy she's been noticing since the beginning. Slowly, she realizes this boy is her son, Andrew. She tries to communicate with him through the baby monitor, but Daniel suddenly walks in, having heard noise from the next room. Julie can't tell him the truth, so she makes up an excuse. Time passes, and by day 23, Daniel has hired a nurse named Delmy, who arrives that day. She runs a few tests on Julie and says everything is normal. The two talk for a while, and Julie shares how she witnessed the post-mortem when Andrew died, an experience that still haunts her. She says that going through another pregnancy now has put her under extreme stress. When Julie asks Delmy about her own children, Delmy reveals she can never have kids, which is why she helps mothers, so she never feels that emptiness. On day 29, Delmy helps Julie into the bathtub so she can bathe in peace. She leaves her alone for a while, but soon Julie sees the boy again, this time right in front of her, pointing at her belly. Suddenly, she feels intense pain. Hearing her cries, Delmy rushes in, and later a doctor is called. After a checkup, it's determined that she was just experiencing contractions. Still, Julie's worsening condition worries Daniel. Privately, he tells the doctor about her mental state and about losing Andrew. The doctor prescribes medication, unaware that Julie is overhearing everything through the baby monitor. She says nothing, but after starting the medication, she begins to feel better. Days pass, and there are now only 18 days left until delivery. Delmy continues taking good care of her. One day, Julie is lying in bed when a ball rolls out from underneath. She tosses it back, but it rolls out again. Amused, she assumes her cat is playing, but is startled to realize Lou is actually in another room. Curious, Julie grabs a mirror and tries to see under the bed to find out what's there. To her shock, she sees a woman's face staring back at her. Panicking, she quickly looks again. But, as always, there's nothing there. That entire night, Julie keeps her eyes on the baby monitor, still convinced that the presence haunting her is the ghost of her son, Andrew. The next day, while Julie is in the bathtub, she once again sees the same little boy. This time, he repeats over and over that she wants the baby. She will take it from you. Moments later, the nurse walks in. Now, Julie begins to suspect that Andrew has been warning her that the nurse, who cannot have children of her own, might be taking babies from others. One day, she tells Daniel to send the nurse away because she doesn't trust her. But Daniel already believes Julie is becoming delusional and suspicious of everyone. Still wanting to clear her doubts, Julie asks the nurse many questions. Eventually, the nurse shares the story of the house's former owners. In the 1960s, a woman lived there with her 3 children. Her youngest died during childbirth, and she slowly lost her mind, eventually killing all 3 of her children. Julie later confirms this through old newspapers and online searches. She also learns that the bracelet she found at the beginning belonged to that same woman. Up until now, Julie only suspected she was seeing ghosts. Now she is certain. The day of delivery arrives, and she's deeply afraid. She realizes that the boy wasn't warning her about the nurse. He was talking about his own mother. Soon after, labor pains start. They consider going to the hospital, but everything happens too quickly. The nurse goes to get ready, and Julie hears a sound from the nursery. Daniel had turned off the camera in there because she used to watch it constantly, so she attaches her phone to a vacuum cleaner and points it toward the dark room. Through the camera, she first sees the same boy, and then 3 children together, before the signal cuts off. The baby is coming, and Daniel has returned home. Julie tells him they must leave the house, but no one listens. The nurse is confident she can handle the delivery. Suddenly, both Daniel and the nurse hear noises from the closet. Daniel goes to check and finds a boy inside who warns, "Hide, she's coming." Then the boy climbs the wall, and a violent force throws the nurse out of the window. This is the moment when the unbelievers finally experience the truth for themselves. But by now, it's too late. Daniel tries to get Julie out of the house, but with the nurse dead before their eyes, the furniture starts shaking violently. Something falls, knocking Daniel unconscious. Before Julie can escape, her labor intensifies. She lies down in the bathtub and, all alone, gives birth to a beautiful baby girl. But then, the ghostly woman appears, the same one from the house's dark history, wanting the baby's soul. The bathtub begins to shake. The floor beneath it cracks, and Julie, still holding the baby safely, falls through. The baby is unharmed, but Julie is badly injured. Just then, Daniel regains consciousness. Julie had already used the walkie-talkie to call for help. Daniel picks up the baby and starts shouting for assistance outside. That's when Julie sees the ghostly woman move toward Daniel, ready to attack him. Using the last bit of strength she has, Julie throws the malevolent spirit away from him. At that moment, police and medical staff arrive. We then see Julie's body still lying there, and realize that the one fighting the spirit was actually her ghost. This means she had already died. She goes into the nursery, where she finds the spirit of her son, Andrew. She holds him in her arms, and in front of her, the gates of heaven open. She also sees the spirit of the nurse there. Meanwhile, the doctors are trying to revive Julie's body. Because of this near-death state, Julie is able to experience all of this. She gives baby Andrew to the nurse, who walks with him into heaven. Moments later, Julie's breathing returns, and she comes back to life. Sometime later, we see the family in a new home. Their daughter has grown a little, and they are living happily together. In the end, it's revealed that the ghostly woman had been seeking the soul of a newborn because she had died with that deep sense of loss and emptiness. But since her spirit had turned malevolent, she was punished.